From downtown Detroit, Local 4 Live starts right now.
Well, thank you for joining us here on Local 4 Live. I'm Nick Monticelli. Good morning to everybody watching over on clickondetroit.com, Local 4 Plus, and streaming on YouTube. And also good morning to everybody listening to us on the go, thanks to our app. Just make sure you are listening as you drive and not watching. Plenty of conversations happening in the next 2 hours. First, we're going to go to Lansing, where we are talking live with the state superintendent about the push for in-person learning, keeping funding for school lunches, and improving reading scores. And then Rhonda has a conversation with a group of teachers with what they want parents to know ahead of the new school year. And finally, we're going to go to Little Caesars Arena, the Slice, where the Raptors will soon have a new number as the team plans to finally retire Sergei's number 91. Let's take a look at the Outer Banks of North Carolina this morning, where many neighbors being told to leave their homes as Hurricane Erin turns closer to the island chain. Right now, rip currents are the major problem many along the mid-Atlantic states are facing, plus tropical storm warnings are in place as well. Ashley Barresi is here live with us this morning to kind of help us track this and understand some of this. First, I want to try to get a better idea of what it's like in your world, where it seems like Erin's numbers have gone up and down drastically over the last week.
Right, and that's pretty typical as far as what the water temperatures are, if it was to make any interaction with land and how that'll work. So yeah, at one point this was a Category 5 hurricane. Right. So if you're looking at the silver lining in any of this, the fact it's not making direct landfall with the U.S. and that it's been downgraded to a Cat 2. So we do have, that optimistic view at it, but we still have, the threat for tropical storm force winds, storm surge for the Atlantic coastline. So at this hour, these are the current tropical storm warnings that are in effect from the Outer Banks stretching all the way up towards the Jersey Shore. That's where they anticipate later today into tonight that they could start to see wind gusts really between 40 to 60 miles per hour. Now, the storm surge risk that you see shaded in yellow there, that's about a 3-foot surge, and so we will start to see possible flooding along the coastline there. But the tropical wind swath, this is really what's impressive, because it's not just the strength of the hurricane, but look at how wide this hurricane is. I mean, this would totally engulf Texas if it was over on top of the state of Texas. And so the area of red and orange that you see would indicate the hurricane force winds at the eye of the storm. But all of that yellow surrounding it is still considered tropical storm force winds. And that's what's going to be skirting along the East Coast really within the next 48 hours. And so it's brushing along the coastline, bringing those strong wind gusts, and you never can rule out even some tornadoes spinning off in those outer bands of hurricanes before it then pushes out to the northeast into the Atlantic, which the northern part of the Atlantic is cooler. So that's going to help that hurricane deteriorate and weaken as we go into the weekend. But currently 100-mile-per-hour sustained winds, and there's that boomerang hook that you see Thursday going into Friday as it will continue to veer off into open water. Now, as we track the tropics, you can see towards the left side there, the very distinct hurricane right off the coastline of the U.S. But I will highlight 2 other areas that we have here, and that's showing that within the next week, there is the potential for development for these to become named storms. About a 70% chance for the one in the middle, and then off to the east of that, about a 40% chance. So we are getting into the very active portion of hurricane season. We usually peak in early to mid-September for the hurricane season, but you can have hurricanes all the way through November, and we've even clocked a couple in December. But hopefully we can get to that peak without there being any kind of direct landfall. But you could see from that satellite imagery that we'll be, talking more about the tropics over the next several days.
Can you also just kind of remind people that these giant waves and rip currents aren't anything to mess with, because they can be deadly very easily?
So, absolutely. I mean, I already saw that the beaches in Ocean City have been closed off to swimmers. And so, yeah, you might think that, it's just kind of cloudy and it doesn't seem like it's a big deal right now. But those rip currents are something that you can't visually see, and that can be deadly. So, yeah, for folks that might be trying to squeeze in maybe one more vacation over there before school starts, you want to make sure.
Let's go to Frankenmuth instead.
You're right.
Yeah. Okay, Ashley, thank you so much. Well, we do want to get to some of your headlines this morning. A very tricky commute for drivers after a semi crash closes a major freeway ramp. This is video of that semi crash which closed the ramp of I-94 west to I-96 east. This happened about 2:15 in the morning. Workers have been trying to get this cleaned up for several hours to actually break apart the trailer portion of this and tow it away so the ramp can open back up. We'll let you know when that actually is back open. An auto story we told you about yesterday. We're now learning new information about a triple shooting in Detroit where a man died. One man and a woman were also hurt in that shooting. This happened Monday night near Moffett and Seneca on Detroit's east side. Police think it's gang-related. Investigators found over 120 shell casings at that scene, which was near a funeral repast. Nobody has been arrested. Police are asking anybody with information to call Crime Stoppers. That number is 1-800-SPEAK-UP. Governor Gretchen Whitmer is heading to Metro Detroit today to make the case for keeping an important early education program in the state budget. She's going to be visiting a preschool in Romulus to talk about Pre-K for All, which is a free preschool program that helps families who cannot afford it. The governor's office says this program has boosted pre-K enrollment by 24% since it started in 2023. All of this, of course, comes as lawmakers work to finalize the budget for the entire state and especially Michigan schools. As we focus on returning back to school all week, there is so much to talk about. Now we're going to have a conversation with the person who helps shape all of the education in Michigan. That is the state superintendent. Right now, Michael Rice is fighting for more in-person learning, pushing the state legislature to pass a budget and keep funding free school meals, and looking for ways to improve reading scores across the state. One idea is to reduce class sizes for some grades. We're going to start there with Dr. Michael Rice, the superintendent for the state. Thank you so much for joining us. The thought process behind reducing, the class sizes and improving scores is all going to be tied to budget.
Well, we'll be tied to budget. First of all, thank you for having me. Really appreciate the opportunity. We need lower class sizes in high poverty K-3s. There's research associated with it. We've had a grant in this area in the past in the state. We need to return that grant to the state budget.
So I know it's common sense, but can you kind of lay out a little bit more how a smaller class size means more one-on-one time with the teacher, and then how the scores can go up from there?
Well, the research shows that teachers have not only better experiences in full group, but also the opportunity in small group and one-on-one with young people to really focus in on those early literacy and early numeracy skills that young people need to develop as foundations for the rest of their educational experience.
Something else that has been a hot topic, and I know you've been working on pretty diligently lately, is the change in law that kind of allowed professional development time for teachers to count as instructional time, which helps their schedule, but what it really is doing is taking time away from the kids in the classroom, and you've been trying to change that.
So professional development is hugely important. We're supportive of it in the department. It should be compensated in local school districts. At the same time, however, it shouldn't be a substitute for in-person student instructional time. We need that in-person student instructional time with our young people, but we also need the professional development. The one shouldn't tug on the other. The professional development shouldn't take away from the in-person instructional time.
So currently, and my numbers could be off here, but you were saying that the goal is about 180 days of instructional time per school year. Is that right?
Well, statute says a minimum of 180 days, but it's not what children experience. Children experience far less. They experience the adverse impact of weather, snow, ice, a water main break. But then they also experience, since 2019, these professional days, which are an incursion into their calendar. And finally, most recently, the state legislature permitted 15 virtual days to count toward the 180. We know those are inferior to in-person days. We went through a pandemic. We saw it firsthand. Our legislature needs to roll back these two elements. The professional development days counting as student instructional days, effective 2019, and then the virtual days, 15 of them, that are permitted to be counted as in-person instructional days, effective 2023. We've chipped away at time that students have with their teachers. It's not acceptable. It doesn't help us get done what we need to get done with and for our young people.
So is the answer to that issue then, again, tied to the budget, so you can pay teachers for the professional development while not taking away from actual classroom time?
So a lot of this turns on budget. The days are embedded in budget. Of course, the dollars are embedded in budget. The legislature is a month and a half late. It looks like the budget is going to move into September. The holding up of the budget adversely affects students and staff because our school leaders become risk averse, and on the margins, they hold back on those last hirings to decide to wait to see if they are able to afford them. And that doesn't benefit the school children. We should have our hiring complete by now, ideally, but minimally, we should have known for the last month and a half, 2 months, where we are with budget in each of the 824 local school districts across the state.
Right, right. Okay, we're going to take a very short break here. When we come back, we're going to spend more time talking about the budget because I'm sure you could do that to fill the entire show. So we'll take a short break. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Local 4 Live. We're still here with State Superintendent Michael Rice. Michael, thanks again for joining us. I want to spend some time here talking about the budget because I don't think everyone realizes how adversely this is affecting our schools. Yesterday, we had 4 superintendents here on the show, and there was a palpable frustration amongst them, which I can understand. I'm sure everybody else can, and I know you can. You were a district superintendent long before you became the state superintendent. Can you kind of walk us through what that does to not only the budget for the district, but for the planning of the school year, not to know what dollars you have to work with and how that trickles into the classroom or doesn't?
Sure. So the dollars drive the planning in good measure. And to not have a strong sense of where the dollars are going to be adversely affects the planning for students and staff. It used to be back in the day that we didn't have a budget until late September. At the same time, however, the governor's budget, the House budget, and the Senate budget were pretty close to one another. The same is not true currently. The House budget is very different from the Senate budget and the governor's budget. There's a huge range. It's the greatest range I've seen in my time in public education, 40 years. The consequence of this is that local school superintendents not only don't have a budget, but they don't have a narrow range that they can count on and plan on to serve students and staff.
Well, which I would assume must be the most frustrating part, because we have heard from some lawmakers saying, well, they have a basic idea of what their budget's going to be. It sounds like they don't.
I tell you, I mean, I did this again for more than a minute. Local superintendents do not have that narrow range with which we used to work prior to 2011, Prior to 2011, budgets were completed in September. But again, narrow range. We knew what we had to plan with, to plan for. The same is not true now. For the last 14 years, we've had budgets that have been approved in June, signed into law in July, provided a lot of opportunity to plan well for students and staff. It's simply not the case in 2025. It's not simply my opinion, although it is. It's the opinion of local school superintendents. It's the opinion of local school board members. It's the opinion of local business officials, local teachers. This is a problem. Look, the base funding in many districts is pretty similar year to year. But on the margins, what you have additionally to improve instruction is unclear year to year. It's a function of the budget. And until you have a pretty strong sense of what that budget's going to be, it's hard to plan. And you're going to be risk averse in many cases, which means you're not necessarily going to add that third grade teacher at a given school, or have that after school program, or continue that universal meals program. I'm not suggesting these are necessarily the best decisions, but these are decisions born of a risk aversion, born of the absence of a budget.
So to kind of highlight this a little bit so people can understand better, the core foundation of, let's say, an elementary school that we're talking about, just as an example, they kind of have a basic idea of what their basic budget is, but it is the extra paraprofessional, it is the extra social worker, it is the band teacher, or all the things that make school fun and make kids want to go to school and help them through the process. Those are all the things that are in taboo right now.
Well, those are things that may be up in the air in a given school district, but also that teacher in a given school, in a given grade, who can reduce class sizes. So you may have in a given school district, in a given school, 60 kids with 2 teachers, 30 kids a class in second grade. Too many. You should not have 30 kids in a second grade classroom. But there may be districts that roll with 30 times 2 because they're not sure that they're going to have the money to hire that third teacher and to split those classes in order to have 20 kids in each of 3 sections of that second grade in that school.
Oh, okay. So this really could be affecting not only the child's experience, but the level of education that they're able to get because of it. Okay.
Without a doubt.
Dr. Rice, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate this. And we should note, congratulations on retirement, because this is it for you. And I know it's not tied to the budget, but I'm sure you're pretty frustrated by it.
Well, I am frustrated by the budget, but you know what? I've appreciated the opportunity. It's been an honor to serve Michigan public school children. I'm going to run through the finish line on October 3rd. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you so much for all that you've done, spending your entire career as an educator in some shape or fashion. So thank you again. As we mentioned here, the superintendent is retiring from that position. The State Board of Education, they've selected 3 finalists to replace him. They will be interviewed at a public meeting next week. They are Dr. Lisa Coons, a former Virginia State Superintendent of Public Instruction, Dr. Glenn Maliko, who is a superintendent of the Dearborn Public Schools, and Dr. Judy Walton, superintendent and curriculum director for Harrison Community Schools. The board hopes to have a new superintendent for the state in place on October 4th. We're going to take a 90-second break. When we come back, we'll look at your forecast with Ashley, plus a live look over the Detroit skyline, thanks to our friends in Windsor, as the city is named one of the best in the country for how to get around. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. If you're looking for a city that everyone can enjoy, don't miss Detroit. A recent survey by Wanderer named Detroit the most accessible city in the U.S., scoring an impressive 9.7 out of 10, beating out Baltimore and Seattle. Detroit scored high for wheelchair-friendly public rail stations and strong public transportation downtown with the People Mover and the Q Line. Detroit shines with its outdoor trails like the Riverwalk, where 2/3 of the pass are accessible for everybody. Hey, Ash.
Now, forewarned weather with Exact Track 4D.
Well, let's get you out the door on this hump day with some better news for the rest of the week. The rain behind us if you have outdoor activities, but there will be some rain in the forecast if you're thinking, oh, I don't really want to water my lawn. So there is that chance going into Saturday. And I think it times out well as far as outdoor activities this weekend, at least how it stands right now. We'll dive into that in a moment. But near average conditions as we round out the week, even through your Saturday. So we'll be on either side of 80 for the next 4 days or so. But then a bigger cool down as it's a cold front that triggers the rain chances and will usher in a much cooler air mass heading into next week. So your hourly forecast today, we will be rising into the 70s, but we just don't get warmer than that. So 78 for the afternoon high. And clouds are probably going to win out throughout a good chunk of the day. But by late this afternoon, close to the dinner hour through the evening, you'll start to see those pesky clouds break a little bit, and that will give way to some sunshine. But don't have to worry about the tarp being on the field today at Comerica Park. It'll be a dry first pitch at 1:10. Few clouds in the area, but comfortably cool. 74 degrees for that first pitch, and then clouds breaking a little bit by game's end as we warm up into the upper 70s. So those high temperatures versus the average high, well, we're really on either side of it all the way through Saturday. So average this time of year 81. We'll call it a seasonal stretch, but we do have a much cooler stretch ahead. So as we round out the week, we're talking days 6 and 7 in your 7-day forecast and beyond. So taking us all the way through the end of August, well below average from the Climate Prediction Center, and even trending into the Labor Day holiday will likely be below average as well. So it's going to be a cooler start to the school season for a lot of districts. Now, clouds and radar forecast taking you through the timeline of when this cold front is set to arrive. We'll have that cold front pushing to the southeast throughout the day on Saturday, and behind it will bring the chance for some rain. But this model picking it up after sunset Saturday, going into the overnight hours and out of here by the time we get to daybreak on Sunday. So that's why I said I think it could time out well for outdoor activities this weekend, but you'll notice the cooler air mass building in come Sunday and beyond. As we track the tropics, this is Hurricane Erin that we have been talking about for days now and will continue to talk about over the next couple days as the outer bands will have an impact along the eastern seaboard. But a couple disturbances that are out into the Atlantic that could potentially develop into named storms over the next week. Well, we're going to continue to keep a close eye on those as we are inching close to the peak of hurricane season. So we do peak just after September 1st, and so we're inching our way there, but we could have, activity all the way past November, although November is when we should be seeing the season end. 7-day forecast. So we talked about being seasonal through Saturday. The cool down Sunday puts us at 76, but the bigger, more noticeable cool down will be early next week. Monday, Tuesday, you're waking up to temperatures in the low 50s, and those high temperatures will be in the low 70s. So you'll be able to save some money and turn that air conditioning off, at least for early next week.
All right, Ash, thank you so much. When we come back on the TV side in just a minute, then we're going to go back at 8:30 here. Let's look at what teachers are looking for from parents as the school year gets off to a start. We'll be right back. Good morning, everybody. I'm Nick Monticelli with the Local 4 News Update. Right now, police are investigating an overnight shooting on I-275 South near Eureka in Wayne County. The driver's car was shot at by somebody in another car. The victim driver crossed the median and then went to Oakwood Hospital. 2 men in the car were treated for gunshot wounds while 2 others weren't hurt. If you saw anything or know anything about this, please call the Michigan State Police immediately. Well, if you're watching us on TV, thank you, but why don't you switch over to Local 4 Plus right now. We're going to have some teacher advice for parents, including what to do about smartphones. And then some new research from Michigan State says analog may be better than digital for teaching our little ones to read. We're talking about paper versus like electronic games. And we're hearing from Mickey Redmond as Sergei Fedorov number 91 will soon be added to the LCA Raptors. We'll be right back in just a moment. Keep it here on Local 4 and Local 4 Plus.
From downtown Detroit, Local 4 Live starts right now.
Well, welcome back to Local 4 Live. I'm Nick Monticelli. Our top story, Hurricane Erin bringing dangerous surf to the East Coast. A live look at the Outer Banks this morning. The sprawling storm is not forecasted to make landfall, but impacts will be felt as it moves north parallel to the coastline. In fact, life-threatening rip currents along with destructive waves and storm surges are expected. Michael Yoshida is on Wrightsville Beach in North Carolina, where dozens of water rescues have already happened.
Right now, a state of emergency issued here in North Carolina as Hurricane Erin makes its way north through the Atlantic, bringing dangerous surf and rip current conditions to communities up and down the East Coast here in Wrightsville Beach. The message is clear. Even though Erin won't make landfall, the danger is real, and stay out of the water.
Water rescues up and down the East Coast as Hurricane Erin churns up powerful waves and life-threatening rip currents.
It's been very dangerous out here. Very dangerous yesterday. We had between 60 and 70 rescues.
Popular beaches in North Carolina, Maryland, Virginia, Delaware, New Jersey, and New York City issuing no swimming orders until the storm passes.
We're not going to go in pretty deep just because the waves do seem pretty big today.
We got an alert, so we're being safe, and we're watching the surfers. They're having a great time. I'm glad those aren't my children because that would terrify me.
The hurricane exploded in strength over the weekend, becoming a Category 5 in one of the fastest rapid intensification bursts on record in the Atlantic. Its category has since been downgraded, but the threat has not.
The rips are pretty bad. They just get worse and worse as the waves keep pulling and moving sand around.
I'm just going to kind of skim the water, so I'm not too scared.
Aaron's impact won't be felt through direct landfall, but through strong winds and large pounding surf, storm surge, coastal flooding, beach erosion, and dangerous currents.
Can't stress it enough. If you come to the beach, you can hang out on the beach, just definitely do not get in the ocean.
And you can see even with a no swimming advisory, still we have people, surfers out in the water. Obviously not what local officials want to see. These dangerous surf and rip current conditions expected to last for several days. Once Aaron passes, all eyes then turn back to the tropics where Aaron came from, where there are several systems that could potentially turn into the next named storm this hurricane season. Reporting in Wrightsville Beach, North Carolina, I'm Michael Yoshida.
All right, Michael, thank you much. All week we have been focusing on getting everybody ready to go back to school, and that includes what teachers want to see this year. Rhonda Walker assembled a panel of teachers from across much of Detroit, asking them what do they want parents to know before school starts so their kids can have a successful year.
Lynn, you have the most experience here at the table.
I think I do. I think I do. If you have a problem, please be open-minded when you reach out. There's two sides to a story, and what happened is probably kind of in the middle.
Lynn O'Meara has taught all ages and grades over her 40-year teaching career.
We're not the enemy. Nobody does this job because we want to get your kid. We really, really don't.
Her advice as a parent and teacher: make screen time transactional.
However many minutes, hours they read was how much screen time they earned.
Take away their devices at night when bullying can occur.
If they aren't on their phones and they're not on their computers, they can't participate. We plugged them in our bedroom at night.
Well, that'll do it.
Because that way they just weren't tempted to get on their phones. And that helps with some of the social anxiety too. When we were all kids, even if school was tough for you, when you left and went home, that was mostly a safe space.
Creating a safe space from home to school.
If you can create a safe space for them, it's better. And then it allows us to communicate.
Chris Geyer has been teaching at Rochester High School for 31 years, where they store phones in phone pouches.
A vast majority of the kids are relieved. They're relieved to be disconnected. They're allowed to be present in the classroom. School can be stressful. If a kid comes into a classroom stressed out, they're not as functional.
Encourage ways to decompress and relieve stress. Sports, community service, a job, variety is key.
If they spend all their time gaming, that's a problem. But if they spend all their time studying, that's also a problem. So you want to have some balance.
Erica, you had a different perspective of just about positivity, speaking positivity about school and the teachers and the staff.
We're really all a learning family.
Teaching for 13 years, Erica Rapaski teaches English at Hope of Detroit Academy.
We're just part of the day. If they can go home and parents are excited about school and positive, it really makes a difference.
And how about how parents communicate with you as their teacher?
Yeah, be communicative. We're all on the same team and we want to help your child. So when we do reach out, if you can, get back with your teachers, have a discussion. Even if it's a hard discussion, have that discussion. We have to work together.
That trust relationship was something big that you really focus on.
For sure,
too.
yeah. We want the same thing. We want your kid to be successful.
David Brown teaches art at Cousino High School.
If it's a mistake, let me fix it. If it's not a mistake, let me explain why I've done what I've done, why the consequences are what they are in my classroom. And then from there, we can talk about how do we see success from this failure.
Along with communicating when issues at home could impact your child at school, like losing a pet or a grandparent.
We don't always get those emails like, I want to rally around your kid and help you guys help that kid get through that.
And I have to imagine, Audra, when you're seeing these kids each and every day, you can tell when something's up.
All the time. I try to have a really good relationship with my students. I've been at Bates for 17 years, so I've developed a bond with them. I celebrate them. I make sure that they're okay. My door never closes, and I try to be that teacher, to listen, to make sure I support my students and have their back when they need me to.
Her advice for parents: read and follow the syllabus and regularly review your child's schoolwork.
You need to read it in detail. You'll see that they missed an assignment. If you go on our grading system, you'll look and see your child's grades. It can't be on the teacher when they go home to you.
And if you have a question or there's a problem,
email, call, ask, don't assume. You know, a lot of parents go to the principal. The principal isn't your child's teacher. We are. The partnership is, and we are trying to make your child successful.
Which Global Heights Academy teacher Pam Goodlow says requires good attendance.
One of the most important things, how do you learn if you're not present, well rested, to have that routine so that, you can be ready to learn. I'm teaching summer school right now, and my kids, they say, we went to bed at 4 o'clock in the morning and then they're falling asleep.
Ms. Goodlow also encourages positive affirmations.
Encouraging the kids to speak positively about themselves. I've had kids tell me, I'm dumb. I'm not smart. And I always tell them, yes, you are. And kids, they respond to, to those positive things that you have to say about them.
Well, that was Rhonda Walker reporting. For parents wondering what to say beyond "you're doing great," teachers suggest asking them to email school assignments so parents can ask more pointed questions about something their child did or something coming up. By the way, we heard from more than 80 teachers for advice. So to hear more, scan the QR code at the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. That will take you to our website at clickondetroit.com, which is chock full of information. See what I did there? Chalkboards. Nobody uses the chalk anymore, though. Here's what Rhonda is working on for tomorrow morning, where the teachers are talking to their students.
When I walked in, the first thing I saw was that banner, expect respect, which is really, it's the first word I teach all my classes. Kids don't always understand respect's not like. I'm like, you don't have to like each other. But respecting someone you don't have to like someone to respect them. And I think that gets overlooked a lot these days.
What I also have a big thing about growth mindset in my classroom, success related. Do you say I can't, or do you say what can I do better or differently next time?
Well, you can watch that tomorrow morning on Local 4 at 6:30 a.m. We're going to come back here in 90 seconds with a check of your headlines, plus a live look at the White House this morning, where President Trump is looking to try to bring Russia and Ukraine together to end the war between them. Let's get to some of your headlines this morning. A Macomb County union warning about a safety risk because of a firefighter staffing shortage. This comes after the Macomb Township Union shared an update last night. Shante Passmore has that story for us.
Good morning, Nick. I don't have to tell you this. When you call 911, you are expecting help right away. So just before 7 p.m. last night, the union in Macomb Township, representing the fire department there, says that first responders found themselves in a position they didn't want to be in. On your screens, you'll see this social media post talking about how all units were on calls, meaning the fire department allegedly didn't have any available units for the entire township during that time. Recently, the local union representing Macomb Township firefighters spoke about how fires like this emphasize a need for more staff. The union secretary told Local 4 only 8 full-time firefighters were on duty at the time of a fire on August 9th, and just 2 firefighters were on the first engine that arrived. The union claims the township is only currently hiring part-time firefighters, and a lack of full-time staff has been a constant problem.
Just last week, 2 of our own were injured and hospitalized fighting a structure fire, with 5 other cities responding in mutual aid. That was not an unavoidable accident. It was the direct result of a fire department that is critically understaffed. I'm here tonight because if we don't act now, it's not a question of if this will happen again, but when. And next time, we might not be so lucky.
And the union is urging residents to reach out to the township over staffing shortages. Meanwhile, the township supervisor tells Local 4 that public safety remains a top priority, and it has added 5 more part-time firefighters. I'm Shantae Passmore, Local 4.
All right, Shantae, thank you much. Well, if you need to get your driver's license back, there is help today. The Michigan Secretary of State hosting the Road to Restoration Clinic. This one's in Ypsilanti that can help check your status and make a plan to get back behind the wheel. The clinic kicks off at 10 o'clock this morning at the Park Ridge Community Center. And if you didn't sign up, walk-ins are welcome from 11 to 3 o'clock today. A live look at the White House, where President Trump is running into issues finding a meeting spot between Russia and Ukraine, the presidents, because Putin is facing arrests for war crime charges in many countries. Meanwhile, Russia has not publicly confirmed Putin has agreed to a meeting with Zelensky, and it's intensifying its assault on eastern Ukraine. Alice Barr is breaking down all of it for us from Washington.
Hi there. The White House is already looking into potential locations and dates for a summit between Presidents Putin and Zelensky, as President Trump said U.S. troops won't secure Ukraine's future peace on the ground, but could by air. On the front lines of eastern Ukraine, relentless Russian strikes underscoring what's at stake as the White House seeks a location for a face-to-face meeting between Ukraine's President Zelensky and Russia's President Putin.
And then after that meeting, if everything works out, okay, I'll meet and we'll wrap it up.
Finding where to meet, no easy task, with Putin facing arrest for war crime charges and many countries party to the International Criminal Court. A White House official telling NBC News President Trump spoke with Hungary's leader and that Budapest is being considered, as well as Geneva. Russia has yet to publicly confirm Putin will meet with Zelensky, though the White House says he agreed to. Ukraine and European allies worried Putin will play for time are pressing for an immediate ceasefire, rather than the broad peace deal President Trump favors following his Putin summit in Alaska. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff defending the approach.
A ceasefire deal is very, very easy to break, because it doesn't have all the ingredients attached to it.
Also noting the importance of guarantees for Ukraine's future security, though President Trump now says the U.S. will not send ground troops to join a European peacekeeping force, while not ruling out military support from the air.
It is an option and a possibility.
As the president acknowledges he can't be sure Putin is ready to end the war.
I think Putin is tired of it. I think they're all tired of it, but you never know. It's possible that he doesn't want to make a deal.
Looming unknowns on the path to peace. U.S. and NATO military officials meeting today to discuss security guarantees. Russia has said any peacekeeping force that includes troops from NATO member nations in Ukraine would be unacceptable. President Trump also ruling out NATO membership for Ukraine. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
Alice, thank you. Taking a live look at the stock futures board right now. The future is down a tick this morning as investors wait for big earnings reports from Lowe's, Target, and TJX companies, which includes TJ Maxx, Home Goods, and Marshalls. These reports are dropping before the market opens at 9:30. Investors also eagerly waiting for the Fed's July meeting minutes coming out this afternoon to get clues about what the Fed might do with interest rates. And the Fed Chair Jerome Powell will speak on Friday. Investors will be watching to see if the Fed plans to lower those rates in September to boost the economy. When we come back here in a minute, a check on your forecast, plus a live look in Traverse City right now, where a new festival is showing what Northern Michigan has to offer when it comes to great food and amazing wine. What a beautiful shop. Well, get ready, food lovers. A new festival is hitting Traverse City this weekend. Traverse City is hosting its first ever food and wine festival with over 70 events, so you can enjoy farm dinners, lakeside brunches, wine tastings, even a sailing tour on the Grand Traverse Bay. Top chefs are going to be there, and a Top Chef winner from the Food Network star Tyler Florence will be there cooking up a storm. The festival celebrates local flavors, fresh produce, and wines from more than 50 wineries around the area. Tickets are still available, so if you're thinking about going, now is the time to go ahead and book it. Looking live this morning over Belleville Lake, a beautiful start to our day. Not too cold, not too warm, just right, as some might say. Ashley has a look at your forecast. Hey, Ash.
Now, forewarned weather with Exact Track 4D.
Well, let's get you out the door on this hump day with some better news for the rest of the week. The rain behind us if you have outdoor activities, but there will be some rain in the forecast if you're thinking, oh, I don't really want to water my lawn. So there is that chance going into Saturday. And I think it times out well as far as outdoor activities this weekend, at least how it stands right now. We'll dive into that in a moment. But near average conditions as we round out the week, even through your Saturday. So we'll be on either side of 80 for the next 4 days or so. But then a bigger cool down as it's a cold front that triggers the rain chances and will usher in a much cooler air mass heading into next week. So your hourly forecast today, we will be rising into the 70s, but we just don't get warmer than that. So 78 for the afternoon high, and clouds are probably going to win out throughout a good chunk of the day. But by late this afternoon, close to the dinner hour through the evening, you'll start to see those pesky clouds break a little bit, and that will give way to some sunshine. But don't have to worry about the tarp being on the field today at Comerica Park. It'll be a dry first pitch at 1:10. Few clouds in the area, but comfortably cool. 74 degrees for that first pitch, and then clouds breaking a little bit by game's end as we warm up into the upper 70s. So those high temperatures versus the average high, well, we're really on either side of it all the way through Saturday. So average this time of year 81. We'll call it a seasonal stretch, but we do have a much cooler stretch ahead. So as we round out the week, we're talking days 6 and 7 in your 7-day forecast and beyond. So taking us all the way through the end of August, well below average from the Climate Prediction Center. Center, and even trending into the Labor Day holiday will likely be below average as well. So it's going to be a cooler start to the school season for a lot of districts. Now, clouds and radar forecast taking you through the timeline of when this cold front is set to arrive. We'll have that cold front pushing to the southeast throughout the day on Saturday, and behind it will bring the chance for some rain. But this model picking it up after sunset Saturday, going into the overnight hours and out of here by the time we get to daybreak on Sunday. So that's why I said I think it could time out well for outdoor activities this weekend, but you'll notice the cooler air mass building in come Sunday and beyond. As we track the tropics, this is Hurricane Erin that we have been talking about for days now and will continue to talk about over the next couple days as the outer bands will have an impact along the eastern seaboard. But a couple disturbances that are out into the Atlantic that could potentially develop into named storms over the next week. Well, we're going to continue to keep a close eye on those as we are inching close to the peak of hurricane season. So we do peak just after September 1st, and so we're inching our way there, but we could have, activity all the way past November, although November is when we should be seeing the season end. 7-day forecast. So we talked about being seasonal through Saturday. The cool down Sunday puts us at 76, but the bigger, more noticeable cool down will be early next week. Monday, Tuesday, you're waking up to temperatures in the low 50s, and those high temperatures will be in the low 70s. So you'll be able to save some money and turn that air conditioning off, at least for early next week.
Ashley, thank you so much. It is an honor for an all-time great. A live look over Little Caesars Arena this morning as the Wings prepare to add a very important number, 91, going in the rafters. Welcome back, everybody. Let's take a look at some My Picks on this Wednesday morning. The first one coming from the Rosedale Park Historic District. The caption is Single Bee getting one last shot of pollen. And take a look at this one. This is from Trenton. The caption says, a beautiful morning for a walk in the park. Well, that's a great shot. Love the way the clouds are there. So cool. Scan the QR code there on your screen or head over to the My Picks page on clickondetroit.com to send in your photo, and we might take that photo and put it right here live on Local 4+. Getting a live look at Little Caesars Arena this morning. In just a few months, an overdue honor for one of the Red Wings' all-time greats finally happening. Hockey Hall of Famer Sergei Fedorov will have his number 91 retired to the rafters in January. Jay Scott Smith is looking at the reaction pouring in from Hockeytown.
Now, if you're from Detroit, you know that there are some jersey numbers that just as soon as you hear them, you know exactly who we're talking about. Number 20, for example, that's Barry Sanders. Number 11, Isaiah Thomas or Sparky Anderson. Number 19 is Steve Yzerman. And now, arguably the best player he ever played alongside is going to be joining him in the rafters right here at Little Caesars Arena.
The announcement came, fittingly, at 9:10 a.m. The Red Wings social media dropped this video to announce the thing that Red Wing fans have demanded for years. Sergei Fedorov's number 91 is finally going to be retired. He was instrumental in the Wings' 3 Stanley Cup championships in 1997, 1998, and 2002, the first ended the franchise's 42-year drought. Red Wings owner Chris Ilitch said in a statement, "We are honored to celebrate Sergei Fedorov and raise his number 91 to its rightful place, hanging in the rafters at Little Caesars Arena among the all-time greats."
The jersey retirement will be the 9th in franchise history, joining legends such as Gordie Howe, Ted Lindsay, Terry Sawchuk, and 2 of Sergei's legendary teammates, Nick Lidstrom and Steve Yzerman.
Hall of Famer Scotty Bowman coached the Wings from 1993 to 2002, and Fedorov was a star among stars on those loaded teams.
His offensive game was always there, but he he was only young when he first started, and when I got there, he just blossomed.
After defecting from the then Soviet Union in 1990 at the age of 21, Fedorov played 13 years with the Red Wings from 1990 to 2003. He became an instant star for his combination of speed, scoring, and toughness. In his first 5 years, he was twice named the league's best defensive forward, and he won the Hart Trophy in 1994 as the league's MVP.
He was really a powerful player. I had a lot of good players in my day, and he's right near the top.
Now, Fedorov said in a statement, "I was fortunate to be part of some unforgettable teams, and above all, I'm proud of the 3 Stanley Cup championships we won for our amazing fans in Hockey Town." Now, the Red Wings say that for you to be able to actually see the retirement game, they have a 5-game package that includes the game on January 12th, which is sure to be a full house to see number 91 go into the rafters. We're at Little Caesars Arena. I'm Jay Scott Smith for Local 4+.
Jay, thank you so much. We're going to have Mickey Redmond on in just a bit to talk about why he thinks this is so well-deserved. And then new research from MSU says paper is better than screens for learning to read. And then a home improvement chain says it's raising prices because of tariffs. We'll be right back after this.
From downtown Detroit, Local 4 Live starts right now.
Well, hey, everybody. Welcome back to Local 4 Live. I'm Nick Monticelli. Thank you for joining us here on this Wednesday morning. We're going to get to your news and headlines in just a minute, but let's start with things we are working on today. A live look at Michigan State this morning, where we are digging into research that parents want to hear We know there's a lot of digital devices to help children learn, but are they really the best way to learn how to read and write? The experts have some new findings. And then honoring number 91, hockey legend and Detroit Red Wings broadcaster Mickey Redmond is going to talk about the special recognition for the great Sergei Fedorov. And then the sky is looking clear today, but we have had our fair share of hazy days this summer from Canadian wildfires. Now a new tool from the state aims to help you stay ahead of the smoke. Ron Hilliard, our meteorologist, is going to show us how to use that tool and track air quality in real time. Let's take a look at some of your headlines on this Wednesday. A semi-crash made for a very difficult commute in Detroit this morning. This is video of that wreck that shut down the ramp from 94 West to 96 East. This happened at about 2:15 this morning. The crews have been working all morning long trying to clear all this up. They physically had to break parts of that trailer apart just to pull it back up. You can see here the ramp still closed, but we'll let you know as soon as it is able to reopen. And now to an update on a story we first told you about yesterday. We are learning new details about a triple shooting on Detroit's east side that left one man dead and 2 others hurt. Police say it happened Monday near Moffett and Seneca, and they believe it could be gang-related. Investigators found more than 120 shell casings near a funeral repast. So far, no arrests have been made, but anybody who knows anything is asked to call Crime Stoppers at number 1-800-SPEAK-UP. And remember, you can remain anonymous. Governor Gretchen Whitmer is heading to Metro Detroit today to show why she thinks one early education program should stay in the state budget. She's stopping at a preschool in Romulus to talk about Pre-K for All. It's a free preschool program for families who may not be able to afford it. The governor's office said it has led to record pre-K enrollment up by 24% since that program started in 2023. This comes as state lawmakers still trying to figure out a budget plan for Michigan schools. Hurricane Erin is churning up the East Coast. This is a live look at Myrtle Beach right now, where the experts, they say Erin is bringing dangerous rip currents and rough surf from the Carolinas through New York. North Carolina has declared a state of emergency with evacuations ordered on the Outer Banks as flooding concerns are happening as well. Officials say even without a direct landfall, Erin's waves and tropical storm force winds will impact much of the coast throughout this week. And you can actually see video from the Outer Banks from yesterday. You can see the ocean water here rushing towards an oceanfront motel as the area prepares for impact from Hurricane Erin. It's expected to touch not far from the coast of the Outer Banks within the next few days. Some drone video shows more intense waves from a beach in North Carolina. You can see the waves are not only reaching homes on the shoreline, but the waves are consistently staying near those homes. And here's some video of Hurricane Erin from the International Space Station posted by NASA. The space station was traveling about 260 miles over Hurricane Erin. The video shows the hurricane continuing to travel east. We'll keep an eye on Erin and how she's moving through the area and how it could affect the East Coast. Ashley Barassi is going to track it for us in just a few minutes here. Well, with kids getting ready to go back to school, many preschoolers are heading to class for the first time. And these little learners have so many tools. A lot of them are digital, but are they actually helping? A new study from Michigan State University says that old school hands-on activities like writing out your letters and pointing out the words are the best way to boost early reading skills. Surprisingly, kids who spent more time on digital educational games actually scored lower on reading tests. Joining us this morning to talk about this is one of the folks from Michigan State, the professor and researcher behind the study. Lori Skibby is here. Lori, thank you so much for joining us. It makes a lot of sense. It seems like a common sense thing, but can you kind of walk us through the whys? Why is having that pencil and paper in my hand, writing and touching words so much more than just tapping a screen?
Well, we were really interested in how parents can support children's early learning, because we know that what children bring into kindergarten will kind of set the stage for how well they do academically long term. And so we surveyed over 1,000 parents, and we asked them about things they did, such as writing letters with their children, encouraging children to write their names, as well as how many games they played with children, and most of those were probably digital. And what we found is that parents who actively supported their children's, particularly print skills, by helping with those writing activities and understanding how sounds correspond to their letters and letter names, had children with better skills. And so what I think most families use digital media in some way, right? So children are watching YouTube, they're watching other types of educational materials, they are playing some games. And I don't want to say that we need to eliminate that entirely. Most families are doing this, and it's not going to go away. However, we don't know the quality of those games, and also children are often doing them independently. And so I think our work suggests that digital media cannot replace these meaningful interactions with parents, and that parents can really support children learning in a way that a computer can't.
You know, that makes perfect sense, because even just sitting there to walk your child through it is much more meaningful, much more impactful than a little thing on the screen saying, "Yay, you did it."
Right, that's exactly true. And so there is not our research, but other research that suggests that children will learn more from those educational programs if they have some support from a caregiver. We didn't ask that specifically, but it is important for parents to really have a hands-on approach with their children. We can't replace parents and teachers with computers.
Yeah, you had mentioned in the parts of the study there that the kids who use the digital devices scored less on the assessments. Can you kind of go through some of the numbers on what the discrepancies are?
So this was what we would call a correlational study. So we don't know the cause, right? So it could be that parents were having children use more digital games if they saw that children were struggling with concepts. So we don't know that using more digital games made children learn less. I think that goes beyond what I can say. The differences were not large, but they were significant and meaningful.
Gotcha. Okay. Lori Skibbe, thank you so much for your time. This is really eye-opening. I hope a lot of parents kind of take this to heart, recognizing that, you know, the iPads are there. They're a tool and it's something to use, but nothing beats that one-to-one pencil and paper and a good pat on the back from mom or dad or grandma and grandpa.
And it's fun, right? Like,
Yeah.
you want to interact with your children, and children enjoy doing these things with someone who loves them.
Yeah. Okay. Lori, thank you so much for your time today. When we come back, we're going to have a very long and well-deserved conversation with Mickey Redmond about a number 91 that's going into the rafters of LCA. Mickey Redmond is here to talk about Sergei Fedorov when we come back. Welcome back, everybody. We're going to continue our conversation this hour about the overdue honor for Red Wings great Sergei Fedorov. He'll have his number 91 jersey retired in January, becoming the 9th player in franchise history to receive that honor. Hobie Artigue sat down with another legend, Mickey Redmond, to talk about it. Take a listen.
The Red Wings have been home to some of the most historic names in hockey, and this season the team will celebrate Sergei Fedorov. They're going to retire his number 91 this year as he joins 8 others to earn that honor. And joining us tonight, Mickey Redmond, who has a front row seat to so much of that history throughout the Red Wings' tenure here in Detroit, going on 100 seasons here in the D, sitting down with us tonight. Thank you for the time.
It's my truck found its way down here after all the years that we've been doing Red Wing stuff, and the halcyon years that Fedorov was a part of. Yeah. It's amazing to look back at how it all started with him, clandestine, coming out of the Soviet Union back in 1989 after the draft, and boy, the journey after that has been unbelievable.
And a lot of people would say, Mickey, that this is a long time coming, getting to see that number 91 in the rafters coming up later on this season. What was your first thought when the news came out that Fedorov will join his rightful place in this team's history?
Well, very much deserved. I mean, Sergei Fedorov to me was like a Kentucky Derby thoroughbred. He could do it all. I spoke today earlier with Scotty Bowman, who came in here in '93. Sergei came here in 1990 after that draft in '89. He scored 5 goals, 1 game in the playoffs. He came back the 1 year, I think in '94, he won the Hart Trophy Most Valuable Player, and he scored 20 points, 10 goals, 10 assists in the playoffs. We won a cup in '98. It was unbelievable, and he was playing defense, playing forward. Bowman couldn't say enough about this guy and the way he came to play every night. The man was 207 pounds, and he was 6'2". He was, I called him many times, a thoroughbred, and he was certainly that, as we call those games.
Player.
Oh my God!
Like the perfect hockey player if you were creating somebody.
The story goes when Scotty came in here, as I said, in '93, and Sergei was only getting 19 minutes, but they had Yzerman, they had Larionov, they had Draper, and Scotty goes, "How can I give him any ice time? I got all these other guys." So that's when he decided, I'm going to put him on defense. He skates backwards as well as he does forward. He started him with Lidstrom because he think he needed help, and Bowman said, about a week, I realized he didn't need any help. I put him with other guys, and they needed help. So Sergei was he was multi-dimensional, incredible hockey player. So we're looking forward to Sergei coming back and being a part of this, and I know he's going to be just upside down over this.
It should be great. And good luck stopping that offensive onslaught with those 5 guys you mentioned right there. But you played with some of the greatest players that this franchise has ever seen, including guys who have their numbers in the rafters right now at LCA. Yeah. Stats-wise, we were just talking about it. Fedorov, 400 goals scored. Only one of 4 players to reach that feat for the Wings. But just what made him so dynamic and so dominant on the ice for those cup teams?
Well, he was powerful. I mean, he was powerful. I remember early in his career when he would put himself in positions and get absolutely creamed if you could at 207. And one day on the road, I said, Sergei, why do you don't really have to go down in there and expose yourself like that. You can kind of pick and choose your spots. And he got a little better at that and didn't get hurt as much as he might have the other way. He was an absolute domineering play because his lower body was like, his legs were like fire hydrants. He could outskate people, he could outmuscle people. He had a wonderful shot. He had it all. And that's why when I looked at him and watched him play, I called him a thoroughbred. He was the best.
You mentioned him scoring 5 goals in a game, but there's so many moments throughout his career. We were watching highlights earlier where he faked a slap shot, skated around somebody, made him fall and scored a goal. Is there a particular moment throughout his time in Detroit, 13 seasons here, that stands out that really does define his career?
The 1 year he had 56 goals, 120 points. He came back and played 21 games. If I recall, he sat out, contract negotiation, came back, played 21 games. We get into the playoffs. He scores, as I said, 10 goals, 10 assists in 22 games. And Bowman told me today, a couple hours ago, without Sergei Fedorov in that playoff series, we don't win the Stanley Cup.
Wow.
I mean, that's a pretty good compliment for the greatest coach in the history of the game.
And he won 3 of them here in Detroit, Sergei Fedorov.
Exactly. Yeah.
And later on, coming up in January, on January 12th, that number 91 will officially be retired. Mickey, appreciate your time tonight. Thank you.
All good. Keep her going.
But we do have a question, though. Kim Adams, I see you're at the desk. When is flannel season? Is it coming?
When is flannel?
Please.
Actually, I talked to the Carhartt people yesterday, and we're getting a new wardrobe for the season coming up here in about a month, and we're ready to rock and roll. Yeah, but we wear flannels all year long.
Oh yeah.
Even when it's 90, we get in the air
I don't
conditioning.
know about that. I love me a good flannel, but that's a little too warm.
We're all good.
We love a good flannel. All right, thanks, guys. Now, obviously, in a statement, Fedorov said he is extremely grateful for this tremendous honor and thanked the Red Wings for allowing him to play for such a historic franchise. The team is going to have that ceremony, the retirement ceremony, January 12th, before the game against the Carolina Hurricanes. Well, massive wildfire is raging in Spain, more than 94,000 acres burning in just 72 hours. Video shows troops battling flames. We're going to tell you the new efforts Europe is making to try to get this under control when we come back. Welcome back. Spain is deploying troops to help battle massive wildfires burning out of control across the country. 500 more soldiers, along with equipment and support from Europe, are boosting emergency crews on the front lines. Authorities have suspended rail service, cut road access, and closed a 30-mile stretch of the popular Camino de Santiago pilgrimage trail. According to European fire data, more than 94,000 acres have burned since Monday. Here at home, our weather is changing a little bit. It's gone from crazy hot and lots of rain to somewhat comfortable, but the rain is still in the forecast. Tash.
Now, forewarned weather with Exact Track 4D.
Well, let's get you out the door on this hump day with some better news for the rest of the week. The rain behind us if you have outdoor activities, but there will be some rain in the forecast if you're thinking, oh, I don't really want to water my lawn. So there is that chance going into Saturday. And I think it times out well as far as outdoor activities this weekend, at least how it stands right now. We'll dive into that in a moment. But near average conditions as we round out the week, even through your Saturday. So we'll be on either side of 80 for the next 4 days or so. But then a bigger cool down as it's a cold front that triggers the rain chances and will usher in a much cooler air mass heading into next week. So your hourly forecast today, we will be rising into the 70s, but we just don't get warmer than that. So 78 for the afternoon high, and clouds are probably going to win out throughout a good chunk of the day. But by late this afternoon, close to the dinner hour through the evening, you'll start to see those pesky clouds break a little bit, and that will give way to some sunshine. But don't have to worry about the tarp being on the field today at Comerica Park. It'll be a dry first pitch at 1:10. Few clouds in the area, but comfortably cool. 74 degrees for that first pitch, and then clouds breaking a little bit by game's end as we warm up into the upper 70s. So those high temperatures versus the average high, well, we're really on either side of it all the way through Saturday. So average this time of year 81. We'll call it a seasonal stretch, but we do have a much cooler stretch ahead. So as we round out the week, we're talking days 6 and 7 in your 7-day forecast and beyond. So taking us all the way through the end of August, well below average from the Climate Prediction Center, and even trending into the Labor Day holiday will likely be below average as well. So it's going to be a cooler start to the school season for a lot of districts. Now, clouds and radar forecast taking you through the timeline of when this cold front is set to arrive. We'll have that cold front pushing to the southeast throughout the day on Saturday, and behind it will bring the chance for some rain. But this model picking it up after sunset Saturday, going into the overnight hours and out of here by the time we get to daybreak on Sunday. So that's why I said I think it could time out well for outdoor activities this weekend, but you'll notice the cooler air mass building in come Sunday and beyond. As we track the tropics, this is Hurricane Erin that we have been talking about for days now and will continue to talk about over the next couple days as the outer bands will have an impact along the eastern seaboard. But a couple disturbances that are out into the Atlantic that could potentially develop into named storms over the next week. Well, we're going to continue to keep a close eye on those as we are inching close to the peak of hurricane season. So we do peak just after September 1st, and so we're inching our way there, but we could have, activity all the way past November, although November is when we should be seeing the season end. 7-day forecast. So we talked about being seasonal through Saturday. The cool down Sunday puts us at 76, but the bigger, more noticeable cool down will be early next week. Monday, Tuesday, you're waking up to temperatures in the low 50s, and those high temperatures will be in the low 70s. So you'll be able to save some money and turn that air conditioning off, at least for early next week.
All right, Ashley, thank you so much. We're going to take a short break here. We're going to talk house hunting when we come back. There could be a little relief coming your way, but if you're looking to sell, the market might be cooling. What's driving this shift and what that means for you? Welcome back, everybody. If you are trying to buy a new house, I've got some good news for you. If you're selling, not so much. The prices of homes in the U.S. dropped slightly in the month of July. That's according to the Redfin Home Price Index. Prices dropped by 0.1%. On a year-over-year basis, prices grew about 3%. That's the lowest rate since 2012. That's because they say there are more homes for sale now, and we're back to pre-pandemic levels. Redfin also says more homeowners are reluctant to move because prices are still near record highs and mortgage rates are pretty high as well. Now, if you decide to just remodel your home instead of selling it, that's going to get more expensive as well. Home Depot announcing yesterday that prices on some of the items are likely to go up. They say the Trump administration's tariffs are having a ripple effect on their products. Home Depot says just under 50% of its inventory is imported from suppliers outside of the U.S. We just don't know which products are going to cost more just yet. Some more consumer headlines. Pizza Hut is hoping a new deal will help turn sales around for that company. The chain announcing a $5 crafted flats pizza. It's spelled F-L-A-T-Z-Z, so I think I have to emphasize the Z's. It's a crispier, thinner version of their original personal pan pizzas. Experts say the move comes after 7 straight quarters of sales decline, which rivals Domino's and Papa John's have seen gains thanks to their new menu items and value deals. Pizza Hut says it hopes the flats, along with other promotions like Wing Wednesday, could help the company regain some customers and prove they're still competitive in a pretty tough pizza market. Well, as Michigan students head back to class, one of the state's top educators, in fact, the state's top educator, pushing for smaller class sizes, free meals to continue, and more in-person learning, urging lawmakers to act on education funding before it's too late. That conversation next.
From downtown Detroit, Local 4 Live starts right now.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Local 4 Live. I'm Nick Monticelli. Thank you so much for watching. Let's take a live look at some headlines right now. We'll start with the big board, the stock market opening just 54 seconds ago. We're coming off the heels of yesterday's close, uneven ground. The S&P 500 slipped roughly 0.5%. The NASDAQ also sliding 0.54%, and the Dow held steady yesterday, currently up 0.14%. With a live look at Washington, D.C. now, as President Trump is working to get a plan together between the Russian president and the Ukrainian president. President Trump is running into issues finding a meeting spot between the two because Putin is actually facing arrest for war crime charges in many countries. Meanwhile, Russia has not publicly confirmed that Putin has agreed to a meeting with Zelensky, and it's intensifying its assault on eastern Ukraine. Well, as we focus on returning back to school all this week, there is so much to talk about. Today, a conversation with the person helping shape education in Michigan, the state superintendent. Right now, he is fighting for more in-person learning, pushing the state legislature to pass a budget and keep funding for free school meals, and trying to improve reading scores across the state. One idea is to reduce class sizes for some grades. Earlier, we talked about all of this with State Superintendent Michael Rice. Here's part of that conversation. The thought process behind reducing, the class sizes and improving scores is all going to be tied to budget.
Well, we'll be tied to budget. First of all, thank you for having me. Really appreciate the opportunity. We need lower class sizes in high poverty K-3s. There's research associated with it. We've had a grant in this area in the past in the state. We need to return that grant to the state budget.
So I know it's common sense, but can you kind of lay out a little bit more how a smaller class size means more one-on-one time with the teacher, and then how the scores can go up from there?
Well, the research shows that teachers have not only better experiences in full group, but also the opportunity in small group and one-on-one with young people to really focus in on those early literacy and early numeracy skills that young people need to develop as foundations for the rest of their educational experience.
Something else that has been a hot topic, and I know you've been working on pretty diligently lately, is the change in law that kind of allowed professional development time for teachers to count as instructional time, which helps their schedule, but what it really is doing is taking time away from the kids in the classroom, and you've been trying to change that.
So professional development is hugely important. We're supportive of it in the department. It should be compensated in local school districts. At the same time, however, it shouldn't be a substitute for in-person student instructional time. We need that in-person student instructional time with our young people, but we also need the professional development. The one shouldn't tug on the other. The professional development shouldn't take away from the in-person instructional time.
So currently, and my numbers could be off here, but you were saying that the goal is about 180 days of instructional time per school year. Is that right?
Well, statute says a minimum of 180 days, but it's not what children experience. Children experience far less. They experience the adverse impact of weather, snow, ice, a water main break, but then they also experience, since 2019, these professional days, which are an incursion into their calendar. And finally, most recently, the state legislature permitted 15 virtual days to count toward the 180. We know those are inferior to in-person days. We went through a pandemic. We saw it firsthand. Our legislature needs to roll back these two elements. The professional development days counting as student instructional days, effective 2019, and then the virtual days, 15 of them, that are permitted to be counted as in-person instructional days, effective 2023. We've chipped away at time that students have with their teachers. It's not acceptable. It doesn't help us get done what we need to get done with and for our young people.
So is the answer to that issue then, again, tied to the budget, so you can pay teachers for the professional development while not taking away from actual classroom time?
So a lot of this turns on budget. The days are embedded in budget. Of course, the dollars are embedded in budget. The legislature is a month and a half late. It looks like the budget is going to move into September. The holding up of the budget adversely affects students and staff because our school leaders become risk averse, and on the margins, they hold back on those last hirings to decide to wait to see if they are able to afford them. And that doesn't benefit the school children. We should have our hiring complete by now, ideally, but minimally, we should have known for the last month and a half, 2 months, where we are with budget in each of the 824 local school districts across the state.
Right. Well, you can watch that full interview with the superintendent right now on our YouTube page. When we come back, the sky is clear today in Metro Detroit, but we have not forgotten about those hazy, smoky days from earlier this summer. And now the state is rolling out a new tool to help you track air quality and prepare for future wildfire smoke. Forewarned meteorologist Ron Hilliard is going to show us how that works. Welcome back. Public safety concerns are front and center in Macomb County. Just days ago, the union representing Macomb Township firefighters warned Local 4 that short staffing was hurting response times. Now the union is releasing a new picture, it says, that shows just how critical this problem has become. Shante Passmore has what they could be revealing.
Good morning, Nick. I don't have to tell you this. When you call 911, you are expecting help right away. So just before 7 p.m. last night, the union in Macomb Township representing the fire department there says that first responders found themselves in a position they didn't want to be in. On your screens, you'll see this social media post talking about how all units were on calls, meaning the fire department allegedly didn't have any available units for the entire township during that time. Recently, the local union representing Macomb Township firefighters spoke about how fires like this emphasize a need for more staff. The union secretary told Local 4 only 8 full-time firefighters were on duty at the time of a fire on August 9th, and just 2 firefighters were on the first engine that arrived. The union claims the township is only currently hiring part-time firefighters, and a lack of full-time staff has been a constant problem.
Just last week, 2 of our own were injured and hospitalized fighting a structure fire, with 5 other cities responding in mutual aid. That was not an unavoidable accident. It was the direct result of a fire department that is critically understaffed. I'm here tonight because if we don't act now, it's not a question of if this will happen again, but when. And next time, we might not be so lucky.
And the union is urging residents to reach out to the township over staffing shortages. Meanwhile, the township supervisor tells Local 4 that public safety remains a top priority, and it has added 5 more part-time firefighters. I'm Shante Passmore, Local 4.
All right, Shante, thank you so much. The air is clear today in Metro Detroit, but we have seen some hazy days because of wildfires in California. So the state is launching in Canada, not in California. So the state is launching a new website to help track our air quality. The idea is to help you prepare for and deal with all of that smoke. Forewarned meteorologist Ron Hilliard show us how it works.
All summer long, you've seen images like this. Wildfire smoke drifting over southeast Michigan. In this case, this is from downtown Detroit looking toward Belle Isle and Lake St. Clair. August 3rd of this year, you can barely see it. Well, wildfire smoke over southeast Michigan and the entire state will become a recurring issue. We've seen it this year. We saw it pretty bad in 2023. Because of this, the state is launching a new resource, releasing this website right here from the Department of Environment, Great Lakes and Energy, also known as EGLE. Here you can find a combination of resources such as Air Quality Index. You can find out what the air quality is like in the neighborhoods where you live. On this recording on this date, we have good air quality here in southeast Michigan, but in the event that it is of poor quality, you'll get that information right here. There's also a section answering common questions. You can learn more about wildfire smoke and how it impacts you and your health, and also learning about the difference between advisories, and alerts. Now, one of the questions answered here is, what's Michigan doing about Canadian wildfire pollution? Now, I can tell you this, firefighters from Michigan have gone to help battle those fires in Canada. But this right here tells us that there is nothing the state can do to reduce the pollutants from the fires coming over from Canada. However, state agencies are working together with Michiganders, bringing the latest information to you on how to stay informed and protect yourself and your loved ones when the air quality may be harmful. And I'll tell you this, you can get the latest information from this team right here, the Forewarned Weather Team, and we'll keep you abreast of changes in air quality and let you know what you can do to stay safe. But if you'd like to visit this website, all you have to do is visit this link at the bottom of your screen. It's michigan.gov/EAGLE, that's EGLE, wildfire smoke.
All right, Ron, thank you so much. We're going to take a short break here. When we come back, looking at Hurricane Erin gaining strength off the East Coast, packing 100-mile-per-hour winds and churning out some dangerous conditions. We're going to update you where that hurricane is headed and who should stay alert. (9:44) here on your Wednesday morning. We're keeping an eye on Hurricane Erin as it intensifies along the East Coast. You're looking live right now at Myrtle Beach. The storm's reach will widen and spread destructive wind and rain and waves to the coastal cities. Erin right now is a Category 2 hurricane with winds of 100 miles per hour, ranging about 500 miles from Cape Hatteras, North Carolina. Thankfully, Erin shouldn't reach land, but the dangerous rip currents could carry into the weekend before that storm eventually fizzles out into the Atlantic Ocean. Here at home, of course, nothing like that to deal with. The only thing we're looking at is some rain in the forecast. Hey, Ash.
Now, Forewarned Weather with Exact Track 4D.
Well, let's get you out the door on this hump day with some better news for the rest of the week. The rain behind us if you have outdoor activities, but there will be some rain in the forecast if you're thinking, oh, I don't really want to water my lawn. So there is that chance going into Saturday. And I think it times out well as far as outdoor activities this weekend, at least how it stands right now. We'll dive into that in a moment. But near average conditions as we round out the week, even through your Saturday. So we'll be on either side of 80 for the next 4 days or so. But then a bigger cool down as it's a cold front that triggers the rain chances and will usher in a much cooler air mass heading into next week. So your hourly forecast today, we will be rising into the 70s, but we just don't get warmer than that. So 78 for the afternoon high, and clouds are probably going to win out throughout a good chunk of the day. But by late this afternoon, close to the dinner hour through the evening, you'll start to see those pesky clouds break a little bit, and that will give way to some sunshine. But don't have to worry about the tarp being on the field today at Comerica Park. It'll be a dry first pitch at 1:10. Few clouds in the area but comfortably cool, 74 degrees for that first pitch, and then clouds breaking a little bit by game's end as we warm up into the upper 70s. So those high temperatures versus the average high, well, we're really on either side of it all the way through Saturday. So average this time of year 81. We'll call it a seasonal stretch, but we do have a much cooler stretch ahead. So as we round out the week, we're talking days 6 and 7 in your 7-day forecast and beyond. So taking us all the way through the end of August, well below average from the Climate Prediction Center, and even trending into the Labor Day holiday will likely be below average as well. So it's going to be a cooler start to the school season for a lot of districts. Now, clouds and radar forecast taking you through the timeline of when this cold front is set to arrive. We'll have that cold front pushing to the southeast throughout the day on Saturday, and behind it will bring the chance for some rain. But this model picking it up after sunset Saturday, going into the overnight hours and out of here by the time we get to daybreak on Sunday. So that's why I said I think it could time out well for outdoor activities this weekend, but you'll notice the cooler air mass building in come Sunday and beyond. As we track the tropics, this is Hurricane Erin that we have been talking about for days now and will continue to talk about over the next couple days as the outer bands will have an impact along the eastern seaboard. But a couple disturbances that are out into the Atlantic that could potentially develop into named storms over the next week. Well, we're going to continue to keep a close eye on those as we are inching close to the peak of hurricane season. So we do peak just after September 1st, and so we're inching our way there, but we could have, activity all the way past November, although November is when we should be seeing the season end. 7-day forecast. So we talked about being seasonal through Saturday. The cool down Sunday puts us at 76, but the bigger, more noticeable cool down will be early next week. Monday, Tuesday, you're waking up to temperatures in the low 50s, and those high temperatures will be in the low 70s. So you'll be able to save some money and turn that air conditioning off, at least for early next week.
All right, sounds good, Ash. Thank you much. The voice you hear every time at Comerica Park is younger than the park itself. You're going to meet one of the new generations of sports fans and sports announcers at Comerica Park. A live look now at Comerica Park, which is celebrating its 25th anniversary. And this year, there have been some new additions to the Comerica experience. One of them is a voice you hear every time you go to a Tigers game. Jay Scott Smith is at Comerica with a new generation of workers taking over the ballpark.
If you've been to a Tigers game at Comerica Park this year, you've heard this distinctive voice come over the PA system.
Number 27, Trey Sweeney.
That's Zach Linfield, and this is his first full season as the PA announcer at Comerica Park.
Number 31, Riley Green.
And if you think he looks a little young, well...
I gotta ask, first question, what is your birthday? What day were you born?
March 12th, 2001.
Yeah, you heard that correctly.
So you were born almost 1 year after this stadium opened.
Yeah, the stadium was born in 2000, and I came there shortly thereafter.
He's part of the first generation that grew up with the Tigers only playing at Comerica Park. One of 8 kids, Zach grew up coming to games with his father, often having to rotate time with him, and has his own fond memories of the Tigers.
Memories here, man, like the Rajay Davis walk-off slam. I was here in the 2012 World Series just as a young fan that left the ballpark crying. So
That's amazing.
it's memories.
He's been fortunate enough to have one of the best seats in the house during this revelation of a season for the Tigers.
Spencer Torkelson.
Thrives off the energy of the crowd.
The fans, man. The fans bring it, and this year in particular, they have been just buzzing. It's been a different sort of electricity that they have brought this year.
The Heartland native and U of M grad is living out one of his childhood dreams, being on the mic at Comerica, which he started doing part-time 2 years ago.
For your Tigers,
And it all started
the catcher,
while he was playing video games.
Dylan Dingler.
It was playing MLB The Show.
Oh, really?
Announcing from my bedroom, where
Oh,
my mom
wow.
would then tell me it's time to shut the game off and go to sleep.
Zach grew up playing baseball and football, but an injury ended his dreams of playing college football, and when he got to Ann Arbor, he was looking for a plan B. He found it when he was a sophomore at U of M, when he took a chance and cold called retired Tigers PA announcer Bob Vergils, the current PA announcer for U of M men's basketball, sparking a relationship that continues today.
I got connected with him and just said, the jobs that you have now are something that I aspire to eventually become. And he does men's basketball. I currently do women's. I'd hope someday I get the opportunity to do men's basketball at Michigan, but I'm their MC now. We've only met face-to-face one time at Wayne State. But, I mean, any words of encouragement I can get as a young kid doing a job that I love, I'll take.
It's an approach that he says is worth the risk for others who are looking to get a chance to get through the door.
Parker Meadows.
I think the term nowadays is shoot your shot, right?
Yeah.
The way I did is I shot off a bunch of emails to anyone I could at Michigan that might have one connection to a person that I needed to know, and I happened to dig right on top of the treasure trove, and I found it just to get one gig doing Michigan tennis. And since then, it's become pretty much every other sport over in Ann Arbor, where I live now, and became a job here at the Tigers. And shoot the shot, man.
Now, Zach isn't the only new face and voice around Comerica Park these days. 24-year-old Carol Wolfbauer, Comerica Park's in-game host, joined the crew last season. The former Detroit Mercy softball player, who was added to the radio broadcast team this year, has a unique pregame tradition with her fellow Gen Zer.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
They're playing rock, paper, scissors.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
Zach has dreams of branching into play-by-play. He has done some work with the UFL's Michigan Panthers and would love to eventually call more baseball and football games. But for now, he's loving life, keeping his head on a swivel, in the best seat in the house, enjoying the ride with one of the best Tigers teams in the generation.
I tell everyone when they ask me what the job is like, I just tell them I'm lucky. That I'm a baseball fan that gets to sit in one of the coolest seats in any ballpark ever. And I get to be a part of the game day experience pretty much just as a fan with a much louder microphone.
Thank you for joining us tonight at Comerica Park.
At Comerica Park, I'm Jay Scott Smith for Local 4.
Good night, Detroit.
Good night, Detroit. Wish my voice sounded like that.
That was good.
I'm trying.
You could do it.
I'm trying. All right, so we are featuring more behind the scenes at Comerica Park tonight in later editions of Local 4 News. It's really very cool to see. You know what else is cool to see? Live in the D.
I'm glad you like us. How are you? I
Give me your best sports announcer's voice.
On third base is Nick. I can't. I was just telling Nick that like the last, I don't know. I don't ever remember who won at a Tigers game that I've been to. I'm just hanging out at the park, having a good time.
Right, eating some hot dogs.
Yeah, talking to friends,
I get it.
shooting the breeze and having a good time.
I was wrong. Like, we are streaming. I don't know if that was going to come out of your mouth there, Tati.
People watching and having, I mean, it's so beautiful in there. It's got its own vibe. It's almost like someplace to hang out.
I'll tell people that I think Comerica Park, and Director Nick Bank can probably verify this, I think it's better than, or if not equal to, AT&T Park, minus the Cove, because you can't bring a boat right up to it.
Right. We don't have all that, but I love it. I love it. It's a gem downtown.
It is. I know.
Live in the D.
Live in the D. What do we got
It's
today?
going down.
It's going down?
So I'm really excited because there is an organization that's going to come on that is doing a huge sale. They do resale but of designer clothing. So ladies, get ready for a bargain because I think this is a place where we can get it.
Okay.
I'm not going to give all the details away. And then
Can we get Lululemon?
Maybe. This is a man with teenage girls, teenagers,
give you my
young,
my wallet and
preteen.
let me know what you can. A 13-year-old, so all the Lulu
13.
you can find.
Okay, what is the obsession with Lululemon? No. $100 leggings?
That's what I'm saying, though. It's not okay.
No, it's a little.
That's what the resale is for.
All about, seriously. Yes, I'll wear your sweaty leggings. Hand them over. Basically, that's what we're saying. No, it's really exciting. The Greening of Detroit is going to be on, which is an event about supporting an organization that's all about making Detroit more environmentally friendly.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's going to be great. Join us.
Good show coming up.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us here on Local 4 Live. More news and weather always on Local 4 Plus and clickondetroit.com. Make it a beautiful Wednesday, everybody.